Mm. Good morning, everybody. Good evening, good afternoon, whatever time it is for you. For me, it's the morning over here. It's 8, but we just did the time change. So I guess it would be 9. I might be mixing it up. You, this is funny. Every time I do a calculation of time, I'm like so way off. It's funny. Well, at least I can only be way off by 1 hour this time. So, um, my laptop says 8. My it would be 9, I think. Yes, because I think I saw 9 on the oven upstairs. And my phone says 8 as well. So those are the electronics that change automatically. Um, Happy to be here. Happy to be talking to you first thing in the morning because it feels like I have all these ideas that I am excited to share because yesterday I woke up with some clear messages in my mind and I was just processing those throughout the day. And I was feeling very intense energy as well. And today I'm like, um, I feel ready to share a little bit of what was going on in my world, which is what I do here. So, first thing is that yesterday I woke up with a sentence loud and clear in my mind. It said, use your darkness. Use your darkness. Okay, now what do we do from here? What's my darkness? What is this about? So I'm like, okay, well, I'm aware of some challenges I've been through, and um, I I can think back on things that were difficult and how I gained clarity on those. But there's if we gain clarity on something, I guess it means it has been transmuted from darkness to light. Because let's just remember that awareness is like shedding light on something, is like I see it and we need light to see something. So it brings us back to if we want to use our darkness, it means that there's always a part of us that is in the dark. In the way that I understand this is that it's information coded in our subconscious, um, things that we don't necessarily have access to unless we make it a practice to connect with our dreams because they are a bridge to our conscious and unconscious awareness or subconscious mind. If I remember correctly, the difference between the stages of conscious, subconscious, and unconscious is just like the unconscious is the bigger, the big, the grander expansion of all of our consciousness, and what is in our subconscious is just what is within our cells, what is within our dreams, DNA, the things that we don't necessarily see consciously. But yeah, so if I'm mistaken, just like, I mean, correct me in your mind. That's good enough. I'll probably receive it somehow. Um, so I've pondered about that yesterday, and another thing that was really interesting about my day yesterday is that I woke up with this energy that was so fucking intense. Like I was not the person to talk to yesterday morning. I saw my family um as I went upstairs and made a coffee, but I mean, I could put up a smile, but there was so much fire energy inside me, like straight up fire. Like yeah, that was a whole other side of me. So, well, it was fun. It was fun to see it. I know that this kind of passion lies within all of us, and it's really fun to see it when it comes up, because it's really like it's fuel. It's pure fuel. I actually opened my recording yesterday and I wanted to share this energy because it felt so intense, but literally I had no words to put it into form. It was just straight up fire. um I wrote a little poem. I mean, that's how it came out, so I can maybe share it like in a written form. Maybe look in the comments. I'll probably do that. Yeah. Um, so what I did is I decided to go for a little drive. It was a beautiful sun yesterday, and I was reflecting on things. And then as I'm driving, I have these images in my mind of something that is really interesting because I don't usually see that as often. I think it's probably clear at this point that most of the time, the way that I interpret the world is through neuronal connections. That is how I understand things. I just make associations with what goes on inside the brain. So I'm very up in space. I'm very in the etheric realms up here. But yesterday, what I was seeing was the mycelial structure, the mycelium, which is kind of a reflection of the neuronal connections. So if you just type a picture of mycelium, I'm gonna make an effort here for the people who are tuning in with the video. And I'm going to just get a picture for us to see what the mycelium structure looks like. And what is fascinating about that mycelium is that it looks just like neurons, but it's like the reflection of it because this one is underground. So this is a little bit what mycelial structure looks like. It's the roots of mushrooms. That's what they are. So if you've seen the movie, for example, Fantastic Fungi, um, or if you are interested in mushrooms at all, you've probably heard a little bit about the value of this whole structure that lies beneath our feet. That is the roots of the mushrooms. And it's pretty much covering the, I mean, surface of the earth, but like under the surface. And one thing that I thought was so fascinating when I watched the documentary of Fantastic Fungi was that the mycelium actually carries the information between all plants, like the trees. They allow for the trees to speak together. Like, how fascinating is that? That the trees communicate through the mycelial structure. So I was shown that yesterday, and I was trying to understand and make connections between all these kind of messages I was getting. So I was actually exhausted, and I went to sleep, and this morning I can make more connections between all these things. But I took some notes, and well, what I thought was really fascinating was that, just like I said, the mycelium is like the opposite reflection of the neurons. Because to me, how I understand it is that one is up and one is below. And right now, I feel like I was personally invited into seeing what is below. So, since we're all connected, I guess that this message might have value for other people too. So, we're invited to look at our darkness, to look at what is beneath, under the surface. And to me, there's also a parallel with our past and future. So if we're thinking about the past, we're thinking about our memories and our lineage that is encoded within our cellular structure, which is our subconscious mind, pretty much. And if we're thinking about the future, well, of course, it's our visions, desires, dreams, everything that is kind of acting as our North Star, I suppose. Again, just projections from the, I don't know, maybe like third eye, our imagination. So I asked myself, first I asked my mom, like, what's our lineage? Where are we from? So that was one question. Maybe you can do that. Like, try and see where you're from so that you can maybe understand your own patterns and understand yourself better. Because the day prior to that, I asked myself a question. I I asked myself, what do I want to talk about? I don't know if I wrote quite a bit lately, so I asked myself, what did I want to talk about, or what question came up to mind? And the one thing that I cared to talk about was, I remember, I can't find the page, but I remember, was how did I get here? If I'm going to be talking about something, I'm interested in how did I get here? Like, I'm waking up this morning in this body, in this mind, and in this um space-time focal point, my hometown, in this room on this planet. How did I get here? It's a pretty good question. Mm. Um, so I got distracted by my drink because it was really tasty. This morning I'm drinking a peppermint tea with some honey, a little bit of almond milk, and I also put this drop of Shilajit. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but it's this resin stuff that is um, like a dark mineral that is collected from the Himalayan mountains, and its purpose to detoxify the body and to decalcify the pineal gland as well. So it's really useful for flushing all the toxins that we integrate from our environment because, well, we live in a world that is um, not as natural as it used to be. So it's good to keep up with practices to support our bodies in their incredible gifts. Really, these machines are absolutely mind blowing, literally mind blowing, because the mind doesn't even grasp yet what this is capable of. Yeah, anyway, so what was I saying? I was thinking about how did I get here and the importance of looking back on our past and understanding where we come from. That's all the notes I took, so we're gonna just go from here. Hmm. So let's see if we can make connections between all those ideas. Right now, I'm thinking about Tim Burton. um, yeah, so I got really inspired by Tim Burton, which is a who is a producer. He makes lots of movies that are some of my favorite movies out there, like Corpse Bride, Edward Scissorhands, um, a Halloween, uh, a Halloween Before Christmas. Um, oh my God, I feel like I'm mixing up everything. This might be morning brain. I'm so sorry, guys. Um, a Halloween Before Christmas. Holy fuck. What else did he make? big fish, big eyes, a short story called Vincent something that was really cool. I recently watched that one. He made Sweeney Todd as well. Um, Fuck, the movie is called A Nightmare Before Christmas. It just came to mind. I don't know if that's what I said the three previous times, but it felt off when I said it. A Nightmare Before Christmas. um, and I was gonna Google about it, but I didn't get to it. But if I got to that. So if you're tuning in with the video, you get to see Tim Burton. Um, so well, he's kind of an artistic genius in the sense that he's just tapped in with the madness that I correlate artistic creativity with that kind of madness because if you are tapping in with creativity, you are playing with the unconscious realms. You're going into the unknown because what is creativity itself? It's just going someplace you don't know. If you know this, if you've been there and you already know what it's about, it's not creative. It's been done before. It's just imitation. And Tim Burton is an artist because he explores these realms of his own psyche and he comes up with things that feel true to him, where he's expressing emotion in a way that hasn't been done before, to the point where, like, who doesn't know Tim Burton stuff nowadays? We're in awe because it's not something we've seen before. It's so unique. So how can we correlate that with using our darkness? Well, to me, Tim Burton does just that. He goes and explores the realms of the unconscious, of what we don't see at the surface. And he goes in that darkness. And also, a way to use our darkness. Oh, so here's the other idea that I wanted to correlate with that is I'm gonna do a little shout out to Eric Gotzi for a second time because he has an episode in his podcast called The Myths That Make Us. I'm gonna put a link to his podcast because I see so much value in it. Um, or just go on Spotify and type The Myths That Make Us when you have a chance and listen to his podcast called What is Trauma? And he really explained with so much elegance what is trauma. And what I really loved about that episode is that he told the story of Medusa. And that's what I'm thinking of right now, her story. Because in that myth, we hear about Medusa, who was this maiden who worked for Athena. And so this is like Greek philosophy for the ones who aren't so familiar with this. And one day, I think it's is it Poseidon? A Greek god comes and it's pretty harsh. I'm gonna put this out there first that it's pretty harsh, just the Greek mythology, but we already know that and we can handle it. I'm just opening my notes because I have it here and it was not long ago that I was I saying, well, not long ago, sorry. So I just want to get the hero right because somebody raped her. Goes on a quest. Yeah, I didn't write that. I have the notes right here. That's why. Like, I remember listening to his podcast and I took notes on the whole thing. And I don't see right now which hero it is that has raped her. Maybe it was Poseidon or Zeus. Yeah, Poseidon. Learning to go with the first instinct. I still doubt myself. It happens. This is just like the play with mind and intuition is a game I'm still learning to play. It's this whole new communication. I'm really just practicing. I keep practicing it every day. So um what happens is that okay, so the myth, really short and sweet, is that I'm gonna take a sip. I gotta be ready. Storytelling. This is so good. Okay, so Medusa is this sweet, young, innocent maiden living in Athena's garden. And let's picture Athena as like royalty, you know? And one day, Poseidon comes and rapes Medusa, who is, that's her, not her name yet. I don't remember what her name was, or maybe it was her name. Maybe it was, yes. I just thought for a moment that maybe it's a name that she earned after the hair, but let's put that aside. And she, my brain's a little tired this morning. Why I was thinking about her and what I recall is that after he rapes her, oh yes, Athena punishes Medusa instead of punishing Poseidon. And she puts the snake hair on top of her head. And then she is exiled. She has to leave the garden. And what happens is that Perseus is another hero. Picture this younger guy coming in, and he's on a quest, and he has to behead her and bring back her head. That's his quest. It's part of his like hero's journey. So what happens is that when he meets Medusa and beheads her, two creatures come out of her, which are her two sons. It's Chrysaor and Pegasus. And one represents, Pegasus represents the felt senses of the body, and Chrysaor comes out as this like hero. So Pegasus is the winged horse, right? And Chrysaor is this hero with a sword, and the sword represents truth. So it's like the reawakening of her felt senses and the piercing truth coming in, which is something that I personally really resonate with, because in my past, with the way that my darkness was expressing itself subconsciously, I was really out of tune with my senses and what I felt inside my body, and I was always pushing down what I felt and convincing myself that no, this isn't true, and you shouldn't be thinking, you shouldn't be feeling this way. For example, let's just give an easy example. You are in a friendship or relationship with somebody and you don't feel good around them, and you keep telling yourself, but they're so nice and I should feel good around them, but every time I spend time with them I just can't handle it, and I feel really drained after it, something like that. That would be an example that we can use for everybody. It's not a personal thing. It's like, this is an example of us not listening to our felt senses. We feel that it doesn't feel right, but then maybe we rationalize ourselves and we convince ourselves that no, I should stay because this person means well. So for Medusa to get beheaded is the reawakening of her felt senses and the piercing truth coming in and cutting off all illusions. Speaking of illusions, I'm wearing the appropriate shirt right now, which says use your illusion. It's a Guns N' Roses vintage t-shirt. So why I'm thinking about this story right now with the use your darkness is because and this is the most beautiful part, of this story is that Perseus brings back the head, and it is planted in the garden of Athena, and it grows this beautiful tree. Because I think I forgot to say that when Athena exiled Medusa, who was the young innocent maiden, she also gave her the snake things. I'm sorry if my story's a little mixed up. We're trying. So when the head comes back to the garden, it is planted and it grows this beautiful tree that gives like these magical fruits. And Athena is back. Athena is back. I'm missing the point of how does Athena gets beheaded and then comes back to the garden with a head. I'm what I recommend at this point, so that I'm not wasting anybody's time. Yes, I still have this dialogue going in my head when I come here and take up space with these ideas. Go watch What is Trauma by Eric Gotzi. The story is going to be told in a chronological order, which is probably going to be really useful. And the beauty of this, why I'm speaking about it right now, is that Medusa comes back as this fully integrated woman in the garden, and she's gone through this whole quest of relinquishing with her truth and with her story and with her felt senses. And from that experience came this beautiful tree that now blossoms these magical healing fruits for all to enjoy. And how beautiful is that? And this can be applied to everybody. I have chills as I'm talking about it. That's how beautiful this is to me. Everybody can do this. Everybody can use their darkness. It's a matter of understanding and reframing ourselves. Reframing. Oh my God, the importance of reframing. I don't know how long this is going to be. I didn't want to make it too long, but I have to speak on mind reframing, because yesterday, as I was coming back home, I stopped at a beautiful spot near the water, and I just sat there on the grass, and I thought about this instance. So I thought about, wow, like the value of reframing our minds constantly to make a story about our experiences, aka giving meaning to, because this is what we do. We are symbolic creatures. We understand our experiences by attributing meaning to them. So I thought about that yesterday, and it brought me back to a moment when I was in Thailand and I was exploring a jungle. And at this point, if you've listened to more than one video, or you might start understanding that space and time in the 3D is not easy. It doesn't come naturally to me. I gained awareness of this. I get lost a lot, and calculating times is just like something. So I was in Thailand and I went hiking by myself. And it was supposed to be a really easy hike of 1 hour and a half. And of course, I got lost. I was following the path, and I knew ahead of time. I'm like, okay, B, follow the path. Like you've got one job here, one job. And then there was this little area with rocks that you had to cross over, and I crossed it. And by the time I turned around, I just couldn't see the path anymore. And I really looked for it. I looked so much, and I started stressing, and I was like, Kim, I'm just gonna go back where I was from. And I moved one way, I moved another way, and I just didn't know where I was anymore. It just happens like that. And I started stressing. My instinctual but physiological reactions kicked in. I started sweating a little bit, heart starts beating faster, and Eventually, I mean, I was lost for maybe an hour trying to, I was making up all these plans. One plan was that I could see the water, I could see the ocean because I was on an island. I was in Phuket. So one idea was that I could make my way to the side of the water, and before embarking on the hike, I had taken a picture of the phone number of a taxi, a water taxi. So I figured, well, if I make it to the side of the water, I can probably be picked up by a taxi driver, although I will not be able to tell him where I am. I mean, maybe he can just find me on the side of the water. But it was really challenging to get to the side of the water because I'm in a mountain. I'm going downhill in the jungle. It was like super challenging. What ended up happening as a parenthesis of this story is that I was able to have phone connection, blessed, and I used my maps and I was able to put the name of the hike and see how off I was from it and just like get my little like dot thing of pointing where I am on the map back on track. And I made it back to my motorbike, not the way I came from, a whole different way, but I was just so relieved. And then I drove to a beach and I was just so grateful that I wasn't lost anymore. But it got me thinking about this whole mind reframing thing of I'm on an island and it can be the most beautiful thing if I just relax. Or I can start the story of I am lost. I don't know where I am. And that kicks in a whole lot of physiological reactions. So it's really a reframing of our minds. And well, on a grander perspective, I feel like a lot of people often feel like we are lost or we don't know what we're doing here. So it's really a reframing of just like relaxing into it. Like, no, you're good. You're good. You're right where you're supposed to be. And it really requires a level of trust to believe that to be true. Um, so that's what I wanted to say about reframing our minds and using a story that is useful to us, because whatever we create in our psychology is our choice, and we get to believe whatever we choose to believe. So like what story do we actually enjoy believing? And I guess this ties in with use your illusion. We can make up anything inside our minds, like literally. So why not make it something that we enjoy? So I guess this all ties in with using our darkness, and another way that I'm using my darkness right now, or that I've been transmuting, is just like, for example, like tapping in with the felt senses is a really big thing that I'm just starting to practice with all these feelings and energies is like totally new to me. But also speaking. I used to be terrified of speaking and sharing ideas. I was very kept to myself. So this again is a whole new practice, and I guess we're all doing this. We're all invited to tap into what are the things we are resisting, what parts of ourselves have we not explored yet, what parts of ourselves um have we rejected or have we deemed unworthy, that we have believed to be hurtful to us or that we fear about ourselves. What parts of ourselves are we not just unaware of? Because if we're unaware of it, we can't really say like be aware of what you're unaware of. That doesn't work. But what are we not exploring? For me, doing podcasts is something that I've been getting the message to do it for a while. And now I'm just like, okay, well, let's see what this is about. At least I'm putting ideas out there. At least I'm allowing this energy to flow, because otherwise I would have had all these ideas inside my mind and I'm not speaking on them. So it feels good. It feels good to me to put things out, and again, just give myself this permission. It all comes back to giving ourselves permission to do things, to embody, to up level, to explore, to not just up level, but go deep, go in the gritty stuff, in the mycelial structure, in the soil, in the root of who we are, so that we can be firmly grounded in our being. Now, I'm not saying we do this all today. No, I'm in this journey. We're just following a process. We are life expressing itself in this human vessel. So life is a process. It's always constantly changing, and we are just learning to adapt to all of it. So, yeah, that was the message of yesterday. Use your darkness. I hope it serves you today. I feel like there's a lot to unpack in here. Even for me, I'm like, okay, it even invited me into deeper levels of creativity, because Tim Burton was so inspiring to me. And it makes me want to explore this artistic realm even more, because I haven't really done that. So in relation to that, what I did yesterday when I took that drive is I got all this stuff for watercolors, so I can sketch, and I have a story inside my mind right now. Well, I have a title that I'm not going to share right now. And I have ideas, and I mean, not all ideas are for everybody. That's not what I'm saying. Most often, just creating something for ourselves is so magical in itself, because it's like a gift to ourselves. It's a gift to ourselves. And then to give ourselves permission to share that gift, I guess, just amplifies the echo that we create into infinity. So, on this note, I encourage you to explore parts of yourself that you haven't explored yet, to give yourself permission to do that. And maybe let's try and play with our mind framing and tell ourselves a story that is useful according to the situations we find ourselves in. Ultimately, to see the perfection in all things is, I mean, the state. But remember, from my previous recording on the science of magic simplified, um, gratitude is a portal. Let's be grateful. Let's practice gratitude. We're breathing. We're here. We're breathing. And we're so blessed to be alive. So, oh, and the sun came up. The sun came up today. That's great. Yeah. Note to self, soak in the sun. I'm gonna let you off on this, sending you all my blessings, all my love, thanking you for allocating time out of your day to listen to these ideas. And I'm really hoping that they hold something that can be useful to you. I love you so much. In the meantime, stay dope.